It's time to hear from the general manager of the Utah Mammoth, Bill Armstrong, on your exclusive home of the Utah Mammoth, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
He is the general manager of the Utah Mammoth. Bill Armstrong, kind enough to join us. Bill, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing today?
Doing
fantastic.
Doing well. Good to catch up with you. Let's talk about Sunday. Third period comeback. You watched a lot of hockey, and I know you've seen some big comebacks, but that had to be really fun up close and in person watching that one.
I had to pinch myself as it was going on. We were in one down 3-0. 7 minutes later, I think we were leading 4-3. So it was truly a great comeback, and all the credit to the boys and the coaches. They did a great job of believing, and once we started scoring, we didn't stop, so it was good.
It's a weird thing in this game that I've come to understand, Bill, is it is a game of runs, and you can get hot, and you can get streaky, and you can find the gap. What is it oftentimes where you find the gap, the net becomes too large, and things seem a little bit easier? What typically happens? Is it a lineup? Is it a matchup? Is it a different line, a line change? What is it that happens in those moments?
Well, I think in that game that, we just were very simple about it. We had a guy go by and just kind of screen the goaltender. At the same time, we had a shot on the net, and then we had a follow-up from the D-man. And, the next thing, 2 seconds later, Marco Carcone scores. So it was just one of those things. We just started putting pucks at the net, and they started going in. And I think you got to do that. It's not rocket science here. For us to score goals, we got to put pucks and players at the net. We do that. Good things happen for our team. When we get too fancy with passes and, we're passing off too often, we stop shooting the puck and we stop going to the net. It's hard to score in this league. So I think for us as a team, it's a little bit challenging. We got, our team has to be constantly reminded of that. But I think, as we move through the season here, they're starting to get it and starting to improve.
When you get a stat sheet or you're looking at a box score, what's the first one or two stats you look at? Is it, shots on goal? Is it shots?
Well, nowadays they have so many stats.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You open that thing up and for us it's pretty simple for us. There's a little bit of the inside game like I talk about it, and there's advanced statistics that show how we do on that inside game and going to the net. When we do that and we've got high shots, good goaltending, and we can throw a power play goal in there, we win 100% of the time. So it's not. There's a formula in the numbers there, and it comes with a lot of simple play, but it really starts about getting in on the inside for our team. When we're dug in to play in front of the net and put pucks there, good things happen for our team. And, that's going to be a test for us tonight. Boston's got some big D. They're much improved since we last seen them. So it's going to be a dogfight tonight for us.
Scotty and I were just talking about some of the recent success, and it's been nice to see this team coming back together. But, Bill, just talking about the big picture and where the Mammoth currently sit, they're tied for 8th in the West with 35 points and 35 points through 34 games. Just talking big picture, talking about Western Conference picture, talking about the Central Division, how do you feel about where you stand right now, Bill, and the level of hockey you're seeing played?
It's good. We live in a world that, with this year, it's a condensed schedule. We're one of the only teams that have played 34 games. There's some teams played 31 games. They've played, 13 to 14 to 15 games on the road. We've played 20. Mm-hmm. So we've been hauling. A lot of our schedule has been on the road. There've been tough matchups and tough grinding. So for us, where we are right now is, to be honest with you, is where we kind of expected to be. We got off to a little better start than we thought, but in reality, this is kind of where we thought we'd be right in this grind. If we could grind this through and stay in the race right up until Christmas, our schedule breaks a little bit and gets a little bit better. But right now, we're grinding on it. We got 2 big games in the road right now, and it's been a battle. Just because the amount of road games that we've actually played and how many games we've played in a small period of time here.
Tough back-to-back, Boston, Detroit, to close out that road trip. What are the keys, to make sure you close out this road trip with some success?
Ooh, that's a great question. Boston is a good team. we've got to play a smart road game. Very, very simple. No turnovers coming out of our end or going into their end. If we can do that and we can play on the inside, we can get our guys in front of the net with some screens and get some shots from everywhere. I believe that our speed and skill could kind of take over, and it's going to be a battle. They play a hard-fought game. They're nasty. They're big. They're mean, and they're gonna test us. So it's going to be a great game for us tonight.
When we were talking to you last season, Bill, remember I got to go out to Pittsburgh and I got to go watch a Penguins game in that venue. And that is a tough crowd. That is a tough place to get a win. I mean, that is an iconic place, isn't it? So just talk about the magnitude of being able to go in there to start this 3-game road trip to get that win. That's a tough place to go get a win. Yeah,
it was funny because we rolled in there and it was snowing. It was just a mess, and I don't know if that city exactly handles snow that well. So there was cars spinning out. Our guys were pushing cars up hills to help people, and then we got on the bus. We got stuck going up the hill. Wow. I took that as a good omen. We battled our way into we finally got to the game. We walked a few blocks, and we finally got to the game. But I knew right away it was going to be a tough game just because we couldn't get into the building. So from that point on, I liked the way our guys responded in the sense they stayed with it. It did not go our way. We kept playing well. And, it's like you said, it's a hard building. Sidney Crosby and the boys, they're pretty good hockey players. They got a great record this year. But I love the way that our group kind of stayed with it and just kept pounding the rock. And eventually it broke in the third period for us. And we took over the game pretty quickly and ended up winning overtime. So I love the fact that we get off to that little momentum with a big win and a big comeback. It helps you. It gives you some energy on the road.
So there's that video out there of your players pushing cars out of the snow, and they're wearing their suits. And I'm thinking, wow, those are expensive suits. And I'm thinking, well, I don't know if a hockey player really feels comfortable spending a lot of money on a suit. So maybe they're okay. But it really shows you what kind of people you have on this team and what kind of people hockey players are in general.
Yeah, I mean, there are some unbelievable kids in our team, and they're not only good hockey players, they're good human beings. And that's what you love about our sport is, from the hospital visits to the school visits to getting out to the rinks, the local rinks for the kids. Our guys do it. I mean, it's just part of who they are, and they love to give back to the community. And you kind of seen that when someone gets stuck in the snow in front of us. So it was a great thing. It was a great moment, and we were able to win the game. So maybe it was a little karma, too.
There you go.
Hey, Bill, I wanted to ask you about Daniel Boot a little bit. Just what are you getting from him on the ice, kind of in the early stages? And I think I saw him put up a point in Pittsburgh. Just talk about what you're getting from Boot.
Booter's he's been all over the front of the net. He's had a ton of chances. He just hasn't, put it in. I think that's a little bit of being a rookie. And, you get, just the game hasn't settled for him, Just to get his first point the other night was huge for him. You could see him just settle down and relax. And I said to him after, does your family watch back in Russia? And he says, yeah. I said, Mom and Dad? He says, yeah, Mom, Dad, Grandma, whole entire village. So it was good. But he's done a nice job in kind of acclimating to the NHL. And that's not easy, especially when you're that size. Like, he's a massive human being, but he's getting there, and he's getting a little bit more comfortable game in and game out. And he's really a good two-way forward, and he's done a nice job. And we look for him. He can add in some scoring. He's going to be a home run for our team.
How close is Kerfoot to get back in the lineup? And because I know he's traveling with the team.
Yeah, he's close. I think it's going to be right after Christmas. He's going to come back in the lineup. And Kerf's a little engine for us. He can play from first line to fourth line, and he's just one of the best penalty killers in the league. So he's going to be a huge add for our team coming back in. And he can provide a little bit of center help, too, with Cooley being out at center. So he's probably his deadline. I mean, his estimated time to come back from injury is probably just before Christmas or a little after.
Got to tell you, man, that video of Logan Cooley is pretty unsettling. Yeah, when you see a leg wrap around a post and bend the wrong way, and it scares the crap out of me as a former athlete. It's pretty horrifying. Kind of walk us through where Logan Cooley's at mentally right now.
Well, it's an injury that's going to heal naturally on its own. So I think he's a little bit relieved in that. He knows he's got a chance to come back and play in the second part of the season, which I think he's really excited about that. It was just an unfortunate incident. And I think, you're going to come back he'll come back into our lineup, probably around the Olympic break, some point in time around there. And, he'll be a little bit shy. But then your natural instincts take over once you get a little confidence on and coming back, and you go back to playing as hard as you can. And it's one of those things. It was a fluke thing. And certainly you hold your breath as a GM with one of your stars going down like that. But the good news is it wasn't too serious, and he's got a chance to come back in and help us make a second half push in the season.
Bill, am I mistaken? I thought I saw him back on the ice in that game.
I know, he did. He tried.
That's insane.
He tried to come back and play with his knee a little wobbly, and God bless him. But I think he made the right choice. The game ended pretty quickly after that. But, yeah, he's a hockey player for sure.
It almost feels like you have to have a really strong coaching and training staff to protect these players from themselves sometimes when it comes to injuries.
Well, they do. There's some warriors out there for sure, and sometimes you got to pull them back a little bit. But there's a lot of guys that play through a lot of things, a lot of injuries that most some professional athletes in other sports wouldn't go through, and that's just a hockey thing, I think. Where they'll push themselves through it. There's goodness about that for your team, especially in the playoffs. And a lot of times guys get criticized because they're not at their best in playoffs, but a lot of times they're banged up and they're just trying to give her what they can.
So, Bill, I've really set my understanding of the standard of physicality with the Florida Panthers. They were my introduction into this league, and yeah. I felt like the Mammoth really held their own in large parts in that game against the Panthers. How are you feeling about this team's physicality, being able to match with a Panthers team that I feel like they brought home the gold just based off of their overall physicality and nastiness. How do you feel like this Mammoth team is coming along when they've got to face something like that in the postseason?
Well, I think it's something your young players have to go through, and your team has to go through, and they've got to play teams that have that grit, and they kind of get a little bit of confidence from it because for 2 periods we kind of went toe-to-toe with those guys. And I think there was a lot of goodness in that game, and we take from that on our ability to play physical and compete with them on a physical level. So I think it's something we gain confidence from, and knowing, hey, that we go into play a team like that in the playoffs, we're going to do well and we can exceed. That's part of us growing as a young team, is getting to being more physical and being able to compete against those teams. And I think the size of Daniel Boud and the Simashevs and the Lamoureux also coming in are going to help us compete.
I know a lot of people are excited, looking forward to the Olympics, but if you really want to take a peek into the future of the Mammoth, you got the World Junior Championships going on as well with a slew of players on the Canadian team, correct?
Yeah, I mean, Kobo Duan and Aginla and Caleb Denoyer are all on the team, so that's going to be exciting to watch them. 7 players in total we have in the tournament, and that's really the elite of the elite that play in that tournament, and you get a really good indication of who's going to be a good NHL player and sometimes superstars in the National Hockey League by the way they play at that tournament. So most times when they're younger, it's kind of more of an older tournament, a 19-year-old tournament. But if you can make it as an 18-year-old and play in there, that's pretty impressive too. But the heck of a tournament, you go to those games and you're seeing the best of the best at that age, and it's an incredible tournament.
How has Tej Aginla responded to some of those corrective procedures that he went through?
Well, I think right now he's fully healthy and he's flying. We really liked what he did in Kelowna. He switched positions. He went from left wing to center and kind of got in there and just cranked it up. Like, for him, he put up points, but it's also the way he played. I love the fact that, he played both sides of the puck, not only good on the defense, but good on the offense. And he produced some points in his position. And I think that's going to help him grow. And I think with Team Canada, you're going to see, I'm pretty sure they'll put him on the wing and let him play with a pretty good centerman. So you get a chance to see him score some goals and have some impact for Canada.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Bill, we appreciate it as always. Have a great week, and look forward to catching up with you again here very soon.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Have a great weekend.
Back at you, Bill.
There he is, Bill Armstrong, general manager of the Utah Mammoth.